Hello everybody and welcome to the first round of the 2022 GP4 Offline Championship. After weeks of build-up and 4 days worth of testing last week, it is finally time to see who's going to get the first 25 points of the season here at the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. I am JW97 and as per usual I am joined by Robert Ionescu.
Greetings, everybody. It's looking like a fine day here in Australia. It's a good place for the race. And boy, I can't wait to get this action underway here at the Albert Park circuit. Obviously, 15 corners, most of them to the right, and some overtaking opportunities, including even onto the Lakeside Drive, which should provide an entertaining race.
Yep, indeed, and hopefully we should be in for a cracking first race of the season. So I think without further ado, we might as well go through the grid for people who missed qualifying. And like with your system in
Sure.
F2, we will go 4x4. So, on pole position for the 24th time in his career, it is Amar Khan, his first pole since Brazil 2020, with George Roque alongside him in second. Evan Byrne, in his first race for Red Bull since 2006, starts in third, with Franco Lopez, the two-time world champion, in fourth.
Afterwards is Jake Galloway fifth, best of the rest, with Bartosz Klos doing an amazing performance on his first race back in the top class in sixth place. Roman Quag now moved to Renault is P7 with Chris Chatfield, the second Ferrari in P8.
Last year's pole sitter Rahul Patel starts in ninth with Jesus Perrin and a disappointing 10th in the Renault. Joseph Willows performed a miracle in the McLaren after chassis problems. He starts in 11th in the first BMW-powered McLaren in the top class, with Miklos Gal in 12th in the improved AlphaTauri.
Michael Motra is in an unlucky 13th, followed by the two Alfa Romeos of Benz Wallinger on his debut 14th, and Amelia Wilson 15th in her last Australian Grand Prix. Then it is Laura Chang 16th.
Amy Griffiths is a decent 17th in the Williams, their first race with Lamborghini Power, with David Kupak a surprising 18th, a disappointing qualifying for the German. Andre Videri in his first race for Aston Martin in 19th, and Felix Sontag in 20th. And on the back row of the grid, Rob?
It's Hiroshima Di Rosa in the McLaren 21st, and Jonatas Martins on his debut 22nd and last. Now then, 58 laps of racing action, and it's going to be bone dry all the way through, no threat of rain whatsoever. This feels like a good. It feels like it's going to be a good day, I have to say.
Indeed so, and I think without further ado, let us get on with the Australian Grand Prix.
Yes, indeed. It's not the longest of runs down to turn one, so I wonder who's going to take the lead. Can Ka hold on, or will Roque take the advantage? It's an all-British front row down under, but who's going to win this race? The big question in preseason was, do Mercedes have the car to take the fight to Red Bull? And now we're going to find out. I am so excited for this race start, Joe. Here we go.
Indeed so, as we wait for it to come up on the screen, which it has done now then. So, here we go then, for the start of the 2022 GP4 Offline Championship. You got Kerr on the right of your screen, we've got Roque on the left. Who is going to get the lead into the first corner? Traditionally, the right-hand side usually favours the drivers, so let's see if that's going to be the same case this season.
Three lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and the 2022 season is now underway. The first racing action has begun. It's a good start from the front too, though. It looks like Kai is bogging down a little bit. Roque seems to have already gone past him. Is Byrne going to try the same thing as Lopez is dropping back a little bit? In towards turn one, Amar Khan manages to hold on. Roque might be getting passed by his teammate. I think he's got him. Yeah, Byrne up into second. Griffiths losing places further at the back. Has something happened to him? As in the meantime, Roque is all the way down in third place. A good start from the Renault from Quag. He's up to 4th. That's quite brilliant. Lopez has had a shocker of a start down to 7th. Klos all the way down in 10th at the moment. And look at that fuel load he's on. 37 laps. Miklos Gal is much lighter. Of course, the big debate on strategy here is what's going to be better, the 1, 2, or 3 stop. With the soft tires, you'd think the 2 or 3 stops would be the best.
Probably would indeed, but an insane start from Roman Quag to get up from 7th place on the grid. Is he trying to attack?
Hold on. Here goes Quag.
Tried his best there as Chatfield gets by on Galloway into the chicane there. Good move there from the Ferraris as they switch places going through there. Lopez, though, a shocking start. He's down to 7th.
Klos has lost another place. He's down in 11th as Quag tries to make a move past Roque into the chicane. Not quite happening for him. The two Ferraris are joining the party as well, as it looks like Roque is on 34 laps of fuel. Definitely a one-stop. Meanwhile, Byrne and Carr are level on fuel, but here goes Roman Quag down the inside. Roque covers it off though quite well and holds on to his position. I think he's going to be leading this train for quite a while.
Yeah, indeed, as we are about to end the first lap of the race then, with Carr in the lead, Byrne in second place, Roque in third, Quag in fourth, then it is the two Ferraris of Chatfield in fifth, Galloway in sixth, who's got Lopez all over the back of him, and in fact Lopez is going to
go for it here.
Is the power of the Mercedes that good? He's on the inside. I don't think he even needs to wait for corner. No, he doesn't. He's up to 6th for Galloway, getting back into the first corner on the inside. No, he doesn't. Lopez back up to 6th.
He wasn't even thinking about it, to be honest. There's now Patel down in 10th. Bernian has lost a lot of places right there. He's down in 13th. Let's see what happened to him there. He tried to make a move on Bartosz Klos down the inside. Oh, there was a little bit of contact, but thankfully no damage. Still, it ruined his momentum and allowed Moch to just swoop in around the outside. And now Moch is going to try to overtake his teammate.
Well, look at this. Willows has had an amazing start. He locks up going through into turn 3. Oh,
A little bit of contact between the two Hasses. Moch running into the back of Klos only so slightly. And thankfully there's been no damage. But let's take another look at this.
Yeah, and I think it might have been a case of Mocho just getting a little bit too eager to try and get by on Bartosz Klos. Let's have a look as they make their way towards turn 3. Tries to look to the inside, and Klos just kind of defended last minute. Luckily, it didn't go dramatically. Otherwise, there will be some stern words from Gunter Steiner, that's for sure. But rule 1 in racing, as per always, never hit your teammate. And clearly, that didn't seem to translate very well to the two Haas drivers.
Looks like Quag is going to get another run onto George Rook on this part of the track that doesn't exist anymore in real life. And just like the previous lap, very close to running into the back of him, but he's kept it neat and tidy. Now let's see if he can get a run onto a flat-out left-hander lakeside drive. Meanwhile, Byrne continues to give chase. Here goes Quag around the outside. Surely can't pull it off. No, he can't.
Oh, indeed, and Quag really trying his best to get by on Roke, but Roke doing a fantastic job to fend him off at the moment. Can he get him down into this corner?
Here he goes.
Defends the inside and holds on to the place, and as a result, it's brought the Ferrari Chatfield. And
hold on, what happened to Galloway? He's dropped back quite significantly.
He's clearly struggling with that heavy fuel load. Let's not forget he's on 34 laps of fuel, so he's starting to drop back and he's holding up his own train. But let's see if Quark can try and get him into turn 1 this time.
That engine, the Honda in the back of the Red Bull has a lot of grunt, so he'll be difficult to pass. But let's see, meanwhile, as Franco Lopez tries to make a move on the other Ferrari of Chris Chatfield, down the inside, no, he can't take that place, and neither can Quag. But he's going to get another run at it. Meanwhile, Willows is up in the 7th place. He's overtaking Galloway.
Fantastic move. Here comes Quag on the inside. Surely this is the move this time. He's got him. Inside, and he's onto the podium places. Quag up to 3rd.
Well, in qualifying yesterday, he missed out on P3 thanks to a mistake. Now he's in P3, and I think he's determined to show. Maybe he can even chase after the leaders. 4-second gap to Byrne. Who knows what's going to happen? As now Chatfield is next up to line up his compatriot. Sorry, not former compatriot. His compatriot Roke.
And you can just see, just found a gap on the inside. You see, Roke was trying to defend again, but he was just able to get the move done, nearly close to contact, but luckily, no harm done, and Quag up into 3rd position. And while we were looking there, I did notice that Byrne is actually starting to gain onto cars, so we could have a battle for the lead very soon between those two. As now Chatfield tries to attack Roke on the inside. Roke doesn't think about defending, and he holds on to 4th around the outside going into that corner. Lopez looking for any opportunity to pounce.
Yeah, indeed. Looks like Quag is pulling away quite substantially from these guys. As now Lopez still stuck behind the rear of that Ferrari. Let's see how long it'll take for him to get the move done. He's got 19 laps of fuel, 10 more than what Chatfield has. And now Chatfield is going to go for it, is he? Yes, he is, but not enough of a straight line there. Obviously, the corner has been tweaked a little bit in real life to make it more raceable. But we're still stuck on the old version, I'm afraid. As meanwhile, looks like Kai's under some attack from Byrne.
I don't think Byrne's close enough just yet, but he is starting to get closer to Carr, so those two could be having a fight very soon. But meanwhile, Lopez is trying to get a run on Chatfield down in towards the first corner. Can he get the move done? He's trying to have a look at any way, but Chatfield is losing the slipstream of Roke to stay in front for the time being, and Roke even having to defend going into the first corner. And now Willows is starting to close up as well. I think, is that an Alpha Tauri that's got up to 8th? Yes, it is. An Alpha Tauri has gone up into 8th.
It's Gal.
Gal passing Galloway on T by the car as Chatfield has got the move done on Roke.
Easy does it there, as now Lopez is trying to take advantage and overtake the Red Bull. Mercedes Red Bull is going to be the fight of the season, that is for sure. But let's see how long it'll take for Lopez to get past Rogue. Very close to contact there, but look at this train that Bartosz Klos is holding up at the minute. He's under attack from De Rosa, who has climbed from 21st to 14th, and just for laps, there's been a little bit of contact there, but thankfully no damage.
De Rosa having a great race. He obviously started in 21st. He's already up into 14th position. Both McLaren.
It's because he has 8 laps of fuel, but he's going for the move. Oh, he's locked up, but he's kept it on track. That is a brilliant overtake for Christopher De Rosa on his free-stop strategy.
It was actually Klos that locked up, not De Rosa, but he took advantage of that and got up in place. And now it looks like Roke having to fend off. In fact, unseen by the cameras, Lopez has passed Roke somewhere. As an
Where's he got him?
Lopez is up into 5th. He's past Roke somewhere. Are we going to see a replay of that? Because Lopez has got up to 5th past Roke. So that's P5 for the Argentine.
I don't think we're going to see just yet. We might have to wait a little while. But next up is Willows and Gal, the two former world champions, trying to overtake George Roke. As no team orders, of course, between AlphaTauri and Red Bull, but the Willows is sandwiched between the pair of them.
Renan is in for some reason. Why is he?
Electrical problem.
So more issues for Renault. We did see this in pre-season testing that Perrin had to come in with some kind of mechanical failure, and once again it seems reliability seems to be an Achilles tendon for Perrin. Could that be a way for Quag, who's up in 3rd?
Well, this is going to convert his two-stop strategy to a three-stop guaranteed, as Griffiths has just been overtaken in the meantime. But now take a look at this. Byrne is closer than he's ever been. Half a second down on Armarca, and he'll be pressurizing him at every nook and cranny of this circuit, as Mocha has overtaken Galloway to get himself up into 9th.
Willows is up to 6th. He's past Roke somewhere on the track whilst all that was going on. So Willows is now up to 6th. Roke is going backwards on that one-stop strategy at the moment. Oh, he's off!
Looks like Roke's gone off the track.
Has he been pushed off? He might have been pushed off by Miklos Gal there. And if so, well, Galdonado will be in the stream chat. That is for sure. That'll be typed up. Was it all to do with Gal or was it all on Roke? Let's have a look. And oh, a bit of contact there. I'd say
both are to blame, but you could argue Roke moved under braking.
And I don't think anything will be done with that. I think it'll be more seen as racing isn't. Don't rejoin dangerously, George. Thank God he didn't. He comes out in 11th, and now he's out of the points as a result.
And he started on the front row, let's not forget. This must be some of his most woeful 5 laps. As now De Rosa is trying to make the move around the outside. Surely not going to work. No, it's not.
No, not quite. As meanwhile, the top 2 are still close together, but so far Byrne has not been able to attack Cars just as yet. Cars just been able to keep that gap consistent between himself and Evan at the moment. As the gap
Here goes Benz Wallinger attacking Bartosz Kloss. Can he get past him? Kloss goes very wide, and as a result, Wallinger has him on the rejoin. I think there might have been a little bit of contact, but thankfully not. Hold on, where is he?
Down to 18th because he lost out on so much momentum, and the other 2 that were also behind those 2 have now also gained advantage. So Kloss down to 18th. He's really struggling on that one-stop strategy, and as a result of Roke being off the track, it has allowed Patel to get into the points. And speaking of Lamborghinis, Chung is now attacking De Rosa for 12th position. She's trying to have a go on the inside, but she can't get it done. She's probably frustrated after the tricky qualifying that she had yesterday.
Yep, and now Wilson is going to try to take advantage.
Indeed so, as now we look at the rest of the field now then, as meanwhile Videri trying to have a look on the inside of David Kupok, who also had a very disappointing qualifying session, but Videri can't get through yet. Sontag and Martins there, I think that was, attacking each other for 20 of his Perrin, is having it all to do from the back after his electrical problems, and I do wonder if there may be a
Quag has actually gotten closer to the leaders. That's a surprise. The gap was 4.1 last time we checked. Now he's just 3.8 seconds down on Armarca, 3.3 down on Evan Byrne.
Actually, it was 3.6 last I checked, so I think those 2 have actually gained 2 tenths from the last time we checked. As again, Byrne's still not close enough to Carr. Is he just trying to potentially just keep him honest at this point and maybe wait until the strategies play into the hands of this race?
This race is not going to be won on lap 6 or 7. Both of them are on the same strategy, so they got to play the long game and manage their tires.
Well, it looks like Lopez is actually starting to drop back a bit from Chatfield. So Chatfield, who obviously was informed towards the end of the season, is actually looking at some very good pace here at this stage. And Lopez struggling to keep up with him at the moment. In fact, he's pulled another 10th out of him.
Mocho has been overtaken by Galloway, meanwhile. And that is why, because Mocho is out with suspension failure.
Oh, what a shame for Michael Mocha, who was running well in the points, but he is out of the race, and it's caused all that chaos behind him, as it looked like Roke was trying to attack Patel into the first corner, but it didn't work out. But the first retirement of 2022 goes to Michael Mocha, not exactly what he wanted on his return to the top class.
And it kicked off pretty much in the last sector here in the final few corners. Was it after the last corner? Let's see. It was as he was going through the last corner, and there was clearly no saving it. Didn't even think about trying to pit, just retired it, and thankfully didn't lose a wheel in the process.
Clearly the issue was 2 terminal. As you can see on the def panel, the pit indicator didn't come on, so that usually means the suspension failure was 2 terminal. It was the left-hand side, that was the left front, that was the...
This has promoted Roke back into the points, meanwhile. As Quag is just 3 seconds down on Byrne now, he's gaining even more.
So we could end up with a freeway scrap here, and he's on 10 laps of fuel, and I think he's running a lot lighter than what the top 2 are, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, appears he is on a 3-stop strategy, or could be a 2. Nevertheless, with the high tire wear on these tires, this free stop strategy might not be so bad after all.
Well, it depends on how quickly he can gain onto those two and if he can try and pass them before he makes his first pit stop. So Quark could be one to watch out for. Of course, he wasn't, let's not forget, back in 2015 he came close to winning here in the Williams, of course, but obviously contact with his teammate Armar Carr kind of prevented him from challenging Willows for the victory that day, and you could say he's looking for revenge. It has been a while.
Look at this. Meanwhile, DeRosa is being attacked by Chung and Wilson, and he's holding on to the position so far. Yes, he has.
Got Patel somewhere on the track, so Roke is now up into ninth place again, and now Patel is holding up this train of cars, which is consisting of DeRosa, his teammate Chung, and the two Alfa Romeos.
No more yellow flags, so these drivers are allowed to go all out. And it's a bad exit for Patel. DeRosa is going to go steaming past.
And it looks like he's going to get P10 as a result, and yes he is. DeRosa up into 10th place, and now both McLarens are in the points. If Aderi looks to the inside of Q-Pop, but again can't get the move done. It seems that Q-Pop, I wonder if he's running a heavy fuel load at the moment, because he seems to be struggling at the moment at this stage.
I'm not 100% sure. Martins is running 15 laps, so that's clear two-stop, and he's going to go for the move here on Jamie Griffith. To close the door, there's been contact, and thankfully not running into the back of the Haas there.
A little bit too eager there, I think he was, and Chung meanwhile has passed his teammate Patel to get up into 11th place, so that's that. Chung up to 11, but now look at this, we've got a battle for the lead, bro.
For the lead. Yeah, indeed, Byrne has been planning this move ever since the start of the race, and he better get it done quickly because Quag is catching. So let's see where he's going to go for the move. His first opportunity will be at the end of this first straight. But then, of course, he can be more patient, go for the move at turn 3. Who's going to know? Either way, the Honda and Mercedes, we wanted to see what they fare like compared to each other in the straight line. And Byrne is going to go for it. Ka shuts the door, though. This is going to be quite close. And Ka holds onto the lead. And look at this. This is helping Quag get so much closer.
And had to go a little bit tighter into the first corner there just to avoid a little bit of contact, and it's meant that he's lost a little bit of momentum to Carr as a result, and has allowed Quark to catch up. As you can see on the replay, obviously turned in a little bit too tightly there, and it's lost the momentum from Carr, and as mentioned, Quark has now caught up a little bit to these two, and now it's now a three-way scrap for the lead, as meanwhile Lopez is closing back in on Chatfield.
Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, Wilson is attacking Patel here. Those two are on very different fuel loads, so Wilson's going to try to get past the Lamborghini. Here she goes, down the inside. Will Patel cover her? Yes, he will, but she's going to send it nevertheless, and Wilson is, with a lockup, passed into 12th place.
Patel with a massive advantage. Now will her teammate Valdinger in his first ever top class race take advantage of this? No, he won't, because Patel has covered the inside off. Same with Q-Pop with Aderi. In fact, those two have closed up as well, as meanwhile Quark is trying to put Byrne under pressure. Let's not forget Byrne left Renault because of the frustrations with that team, and so far Quark is actually having a demon race in that car at the moment. We know he's on a lighter fuel load, but even so,
but he will undercut them.
Even so, he is having an amazing race so far, and had he not made that mistake in qualifying, who knows where he could have been.
Yeah, totally. Meanwhile, the Federi v Q-Pac show continues.
Yep, as Q-Pac, well, these two are only really gaining because of that battle that Patel is currently holding up. It's very clear that Patel is on quite a heavy fuel load at this point in time. As meanwhile, back to the top three. You can just see in the background, though, 4th and 5th are not far behind either. So if those three keep fighting, we could end up with a 5-way scrap for the lead here, which could be quite entertaining to watch. As Chatfield once again defending from Lopez, so he's starting to feel the pressure from the two-time world champion. Will Lopez
He's going to get our chance, though.
He's going to get a run up towards turn 3. He's got some insane slipstream on that Ferrari. There's just enough of a gap, but Lopez doesn't commit, and Chatfield holds on to 4 for the time being.
That was some good defending from the Brit there.
Was indeed, as Lopez tries to go flat out. Meanwhile, Byrne is actually caught back up to Carr, so he's kind of left Quark behind a little bit. But if those two keep fighting, Quark will definitely want to...
Patel's been passed by Vallinger, meanwhile.
Will definitely want to sense an opportunity, as now they go through into the right-left chicane now. Then looks like, again, Byrne having better traction than what Carr has at this point in time, as they now make their way through this long swooping left-hander on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's been a nip and tuck race so far, but Evan Byrne is determined to take that lead. His exit here was alright, but he won't be close enough to dive it past Ka into the right-hander of turn 12.
Indeed, as now they go around the final few turns on the racetrack now. I think Quark's actually being left behind now, so I wonder if we did question, because these are the soft tyres, what the degradation is going to be like. I wonder if degradation may be starting to kick in a bit for Quark, because he's not really gaining too much, but will probably only gain if those two scrap him. And now Byrne's got a run on Carr. Is this going to be a lead change this time? Comes Byrne now then on the inside. This time Carr does not defend the inside, so surely this is the move done as Chatfield goes into the pits. But down the inside,
He's taking the lead.
And Byrne takes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. Now can Quark take full advantage of this?
Chatfield into the pits. Meanwhile, that has relieved Lopez. But where will Chatfield emerge and to try to make his strategy work? As take a look at this, that the fight between top three is getting so close. But Carr's space shouldn't be too bad. He might be able to still hang around there with Byrne. Chatfield emerges. Will he be in front of Rogue? No, he won't. And that could harm him a little bit because he's going to have to overtake these guys. He won't have the clean air he wanted. Rosa also coming in.
De Rosa is in. As mentioned, Yui will sort out the pit mechanics from the next race onwards, as Laura Chung will be coming into this lap because, as you can see,
here goes Federi.
Red pit indicator on Patel. Federi, can he finally get the move done on Patel? And he's got the move done. In fact, unseen by the cameras, I think Q-Pock has finally been overtaken by him. Another lockup for Patel. He's really struggling on this stint at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Clearly, his heavy fuel load isn't really working. Tires are just wearing down further. And he's making these tiny errors as we got yellows at turn 1. No, turn 3, sorry. Who's it for? Oh my goodness, it's for Kloss and Q-Pock.
It looked like they've made contact. Let's see what happened here then. So Q-Pot looked to the inside of Kloss and looks like he was entitled to be there. And, I guess you could say that was a racing incident really there, Rob, because clearly both of them were not going to give that one up.
Yeah, pretty much. I think there was no avoiding that. Both of them wanted that position a little too badly and instead just gave away a bunch of places to the others.
Yep, and such a shame for Haas, really, as they were looking good for some points. But meanwhile, back to the battle up front, and Carr's actually still sticking with Byrne. So Byrne is not getting away as easily as you would have thought, as Quark was actually close there, but it looks like Carr has got better traction going out the final turn. But look in the background, Lopez is not far away. I wonder if he's going to start to gain on these three.
Well, he's fueled a bit lighter than his teammate and Byrne, but Quag is fueled much lighter than all of them. Byrne's still ahead by 7/10 of a second. Carr can't attack him here, but Carr's gonna have to worry about Quag.
Indeed so, as meanwhile Perinen is trying to make his way back through the field after his mechanical failure on. He's up in 18th position. He's got just under 90
Chung is in meanwhile.
As now coming around the final few turns we go, will Perinen try and size a run on the Aston Martin? Well, we won't know because we're going back to this battle for second place. It's like Byrne is now starting to get away now from Armar Carr, and it looks like Carr will have to deal with Quag for a little bit. But of course, Quag has got 9 laps less of fuel than what Carr has, so I don't think Armar will have to worry about his former teammate for much longer.
No, I don't think so, but nevertheless, he doesn't want to lose time to Byrne, so he might as well try to keep that track position.
Indeed so, as meanwhile Gal is coming into the pits. It looks like he and Joseph Willows are going to be fighting for 5th place. Remember when those two were teammates, and remember when those two were in a title fight? That's such a long time ago. Anyway, as now we look as Chung rejoined in 20th after her pit stop. So now back with Quag and Carr now then. Is Quag going to try and maybe think about a move into turn 1? It depends if he gets good enough traction on the Mercedes in front as around the final turn they go now then. But again,
it's got a brilliant run.
It's like Carr just seems to be so much better than Quag coming out of that final turn there as lockup. I think that was a lockup for Patel there because he has been struggling quite a bit and he'll be desperate. He's on 24 laps of fuel, so Patel's going to feel some pain.
Here goes Byrne and he's going to try to overtake Zontag. This will be very close. He's committed to it and there's no contact, but he had a nice idea.
Meanwhile, is coming to the pits for AlphaTauri, so he pits from 6th position. Meanwhile, he'll be going all the way to the bottom garage, of course, because AlphaTauri finished last in the Constructors last season, a stat they'll want to forget about and hope to finish higher this season. As now back with the battle for 2nd place. Just keeping an eye on Lopez. I think he is definitely gaining onto these two.
Yeah, indeed, but I wonder what his pace is like compared to Byrne. That could be quite interesting.
Already having to think about going defensive there as Quark was actually putting some pressure on him, so it looks like that Quark has actually turned up another gear on this lap.
Either way, I expect him to pit roughly about next lap or so, but he's very, very committed to try and get past Carr on the track so that he can unleash his undercut.
Indeed, as now he's going to get a run up towards the 4th to last corner. Is Quark going to get 2nd place off Carr? Carr just defends at the last minute, holds on to that 2nd place, but surely Lopez is going to take full advantage and gain onto these two.
Yep, indeed. Chatfield, meanwhile, has overtaken Rogue. He needed to do that.
Indeed so, as now they come around the final 2 turns. Will Quag this time get a run on his former teammate Armar Carr? They were teammates, of course, in 2015, back during the Williams days. It was actually those two that made contact up at turn 3, which arguably cost Quag a chance at winning the race over Willows. But again, Carr just seems to have better traction as Quag is coming into the pits this lap. So he's free stop going
Zontag's been pushed off the track there.
That was by Jesus Perrin there, I just noticed there. So a little bit more of a bump and run, you could say. Although I think we are being a little bit more stricter with bump and runs this season, if I'm not mistaken, from what I gathered from the end of season discussion stream. But anyway, that was with Perrin, I think it was. We're going to take a look at a replay now then. Let's see how on earth this happened.
I think Perrin just misjudged his braking there, to be honest.
Perhaps indeed, but you could also make the argument that Felix Sontag actually kind of cut across there in front.
Yeah,
and,
that as well.
Sontag, as a result, has gone backwards as a result and down into 20th position as Videri's coming into the pits. Meanwhile, Rope's got a run back on Galloway. Meanwhile, can he get the move done on the Ferrari drivers? He's now looking to the inside of Galloway, so Chatfield has got Galloway unseen by the cameras, and Roke gets up into 7th place.
Chatfield has some brilliant pace for the time being. He might emerge in front of Quag once the Frenchman comes into the pits. Because meanwhile, Byrne has pulled away. The gap between himself and Kai is 2.3 seconds. So that Red Bull is clearly being gentler on his tires at the moment.
Yep, indeed, as obviously we mentioned, Quag is coming into the pits at the end of this lap. He's also got Lopez breathing down his neck just behind now then, as they now make their way towards the 4th to last corner. He's not thinking about defending, nor his car at the moment, so it looks like they're all going to remain single file right up until the point where Quag pits, and then it'll be a case of, whoa, car versus Lopez. Strap yourselves in.
Well, either way, in comes Roman Quag, and he's going to try to unleash his undercut in these 9 laps. He's got, meanwhile, Ben Waldinger is out.
Yeah, the rookie is out of the race. That looks like another suspension failure. Look at the rear left. No, it's a puncture.
No, it's a puncture.
It's still tyre related, but what a shame for Bence Waldinger in his first ever top class race. It ends on a flat note.
Well, he could have had a chance of points today, maybe, with his strategy, with that 2-stop, but unfortunately, he's going to walk home with nothing.
Indeed so, as we now look at DeRosa.
DeRosa's past the yellow flag area. He's going to go for the move on Klaus, and he gets past his former compatriot quite easily. DeRosa, of course, running Italian nationality, but did used to race for Poland in the past.
Indeed, he was a former teammate. Quag, meanwhile, has finished his first pit stop of the day.
He's got to be in front of Chatfield if he wants to be serious about taking the lead. This will be very close here, but Quag will only just remain in front. Chatfield will try to overtake him, though, and I think he might get him. No, he won't. Not here.
Might do, in fact. He's going to try and get a run on him up towards turn 3. He's going to look to the inside as Quag defended that place. He has indeed. Or has he? Because he's left the door open, but Chatfield was not fully committed, and Quag holds on to that place.
Chatfield did exactly that to Lopez earlier in the race. Speaking of Lopez, he's caught up to Armar Ka, and they're on the same strategy, a 2-stop, just with slightly different fuel loads. So this is a legitimate battle, and Lopez, surely he's saying, I want to catch a Byrne, I want to take this position, and he's going for it here into turn 12. I think's better of it.
Hopefully this doesn't end in disaster, because these two have got a history, of course, of making contact with each other on several occasions, and hopefully that's not going to happen in the first race of 2022. As now, will Lopez try and get a run on Carr in towards turn 1? Let's see, as he comes out of the final turn, will the two-time champion get the move done on Carr now then? As they come down the pit straight, Byrne is just in front, as now Lopez looks to the inside. Carr already thinking about defending, clearly no team orders at Mercedes, and Carr holds on to that second place, and well, that was getting too close for comfort there.
This is helping Evan Byrne as well as the two guys who have stopped already quite substantially.
Meanwhile, it looks like Chung is starting to gain onto Patel, who is still suffering on that strategy, but at the same time, she's also got Kirishima DeRosa breathing down her neck. McLaren, to say they've got chassis problems, clearly in the race, they're having an amazing one, although DeRosa just had a bit of a lock-up going through into the chicane there. But yeah, McLaren...
He's been going backwards a little bit, I'd say, the Italian, to be honest, but Willows is doing brilliantly.
DeRosa did pit, let's not forget, so as I think he did anyway. So anyways, now look at Galloway as he makes his way through into the first few turns now. Then
Gals are taking Roke meanwhile.
And that's P7 for the 2009 World Champion, as Quag will now try and gain back onto the drivers in front and try and make his free stop work, as Lopez will be pitting around about, I would say, 6 laps time, because obviously they normally have a bit of fuel left in the tank.
Chang overtakes Patel again.
Yep, indeed, and she gets up into 11th. It's the two Mercedes once again going to combat.
Yep, indeed, should be a very spicy fight, and Evan Byrne is just going to get away from these guys even further. Gap is 4.5 seconds. Surely Lopez isn't going to be pleased with this, because he thinks he has the pace to catch after Byrne, but Ka clearly doesn't want to give way. He's going to have to get it done the hard way.
Yep, and is Lopez going to get a run on Carr this time by as they make their way towards the first corner now then, and once again Carr defending the inside and Lopez not thinking about a dive on this occasion now then, but will he try and get a run up towards turn 3? Let's see as they come out of the second corner now then, but as Carr just had enough traction to stay in front, Lopez in the slipstream, Carr once again defending the inside, Lopez trying everything he can, and once again Carr sticking firmly his ground. He's saying, I don't care if you're a two-time world champion, Lopez, I was in the title fight last season and I want to win this championship this season, not you.
Meanwhile, on board Rahul Patel, not anymore. Wilson is behind him and Martins, and she's going to try to overtake Jonatas Martins as the two Williamses are into combat further back.
Indeed, as meanwhile Lopez, he's going to try and
Here
go
goes
for a
Lopez.
run. Going to try and have a go into the chicane. These two made contact here back in 2020, but again Lopez just not able to get the move done.
Nope, not quite, and this is costing the pair of them so much time, helping Byrne, Willows, and everybody else gain onto them as Federi overtakes Bartosz Klos further back. But yeah, it's looking like a very interesting battle, and Lopez is starting to lose patience. He's going for it again into 12, once again backing out.
Yeah, indeed, and this is really not helping. If anything, this is just helping Byrne just further extend his lead out in front as they now make their way towards the final two turns on the racetrack now. Then will Lopez try and go for it into turn 1 once again as they come out of the final turn, which is near flat out on the track now. Then down the pit straight as Byrne starts the 18th lap, and Lopez already thinking of going to the inside. He didn't give Carr any chance.
Surely this time.
Surely this is it for Lopez. Down the inside later on the brakes, and Lopez
He's taking second.
Lopez up into second place.
Next target for him is Evan Byrne, and he's lost quite a few seconds while battling his teammate. Well, let's see if he's got a pace to chase, as now Patel is overtaken by Wilson. The only Alfa Romeo left in this race.
Patel really suffering with this strategy at this point in time, and it's definitely showing. Now, what sort of pace can Lopez have now that he's free from the car? Can he try and gain onto Byrne?
I'm not sure, but one thing that is absolutely for sure right now is Roman Quagg is going to undercut everyone and take the lead. But of course, he's on a different strategy.
Yep, he's got to make that strategy work somehow as to try and see if he can possibly fight for the win here today. As in fact, I just saw a pit indicator in the top 5. That's obviously for Joseph Willows in the McLaren. He's finally coming into the pits at the end of this lap in the BMW-powered McLaren, as the two Aston Martins are going to be fighting into combat. I don't think Martins has pitted
It's
just yet.
It's been a bad exit for Martins there. Federi's going to have a great opportunity.
Yep, experience outdrags Youth into the first corner, and Vaderi up into 15th position, passing last season's Formula 2 champion as Griffiths. Looks like Kupak again just really struggling in this race. I'm finding it a little bit strange that he's struggling given how well Galli's doing in this race.
Yeah, I think Kupak just couldn't get himself in the right mindset mentally for this race, and as a result is struggling.
Indeed, as Kloss is trying to make up for lost time after that contact he had with, I think it was actually Q-Pop, wasn't it? He made contact with earlier on. Willows is now finally into the pits for McLaren. That means Quagg now gets back up into 4th position. It'd be interesting to see where Willows rejoins after that pit stop, as the Williams of Jamie Griffiths is really trying to attack Kloss here for 17th position. Kloss really struggling at this stage. It might have something to do with that contact he had with Q-Pop earlier. Maybe it shot his tyres a bit.
Here goes Federi trying to overtake Patel in the meantime.
Get it done, and Patel once again struggling in this race as we speak. As meanwhile, looks like Chung's trying to attack Perrin for that final points place as Willows comes out in 8th position ahead of Jake Galloway, and it looks
safe
like
to say Willows is having a quiet race so far, as now Chung is making the move onto Hesperian.
She's on the inside. Can she get herself into the points? And yes, she can. 16th on the grid. Chung is now into the points.
Well executed move there. Next target for her is Jake Galloway, though he is a little bit further up the road, I'd say.
Yeah, indeed, as now will Griffiths actually attack Kloss here for 17th place, as Griffiths now on the inside of the Haas driver.
The pole had a pretty bad exit. This should be an easy pass for Griffiths here.
On the inside, and the Lamborghini-powered Williams, although it looks like Kloss is going to stick with him right into turn 2 there, but I think Jamie's just got enough drive.
This is going to help Kupak get into the fight as well. He's thinking about the move on Kloss here. Don't touch again, please, I beg. And look at this. They have touched again.
I think that was more of a reaction because Sontag was on the outside there, and well, once again, the pair of them have come to blows, and I will not be surprised if Kupak gets a penalty this time for that.
Yeah, I'm thinking he was entirely to blame here, I'm afraid, and Sontag, innocent passenger in that one. Kloss, just unlucky.
Indeed, as we look on board with David Kupok, and you can see Sontag was there, and it was just seemed like Kupok just reacted there when Sontag was around
Yeah,
the
he
outside.
completely misjudged his braking, to be frank.
Yeah, and well, that's really all on David, I'm afraid. I think that will be a time penalty, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't heard
We need to await confirmation from Yuri.
We haven't heard anything from Yuri yet.
No penalty, alright, no further action.
Okay, that's a bit interesting. I would have thought Kupok would have got a penalty for that, but okay. Anyway, as back with the action now, then as Burns now actually caught up to the traffic, including Barch's Class, who's basically just been bullied today, it's fair to say.
Unfortunately, yes. Looks like the gap between Byrne and Lopez is staying at around the 6.6 second range. Let's not forget Lopez is fueled a few laps lighter.
Yep, as Felix Sontag will be coming into the pits this lap. As meanwhile, Chung now getting away from Perinen, who of course is having to make his way back through the field after his issues. But Lopez is actually coming into the pits this lap in the Mercedes, so it'll be very interesting to see where he emerges in comparison to Quark. We should expect Quark to be ahead, but it's just how far behind will he be behind Quark?
I think Chatfield will also be in front of Lopez, to be honest with you.
We'll see, of course, as Quark makes his way through into the fourth to last corner there, as Willows has now overtaken Roke on the track. He's got a yellow flag, and it's Patel. Patel is spun. Is that because of a lockup, or did he get tapped around? And, well, that's an awkward...
And he's holding up Byrne. And Byrne's ran into the back of Patel and damaged his front wing.
That was very clumsy there from Patel as a result, and Byrne has got no front wing, and he's going to have to do an entire lap without a front wing, and that might be, well, he's definitely not going to be happy with Patel on that one, and that was all on him, look. That was a driver error.
Yeah, and Evan Byrne will be fuming as a result of that. He's saying, what the hell was this guy doing? And as a result, Mercedes are now favorites to win this race.
Well, it all really depends on the pace that Quarg's got. You can't rule Roman Quarg out just yet in this race at the moment. But, yeah, Mercedes will definitely be smiling about that one as Lopez is now into the pits for Mercedes. A 6-second stop from the Mercedes mechanics as at the same time Sontag also came into the pits. But as mentioned, Byrne has now got to do an entire lap without a front wing there.
I think that's going to be a very happy Franco Lopez there on team radio, to be honest with you.
Indeed so, as Byrne now then just making his way out of turn 5 now, then just looking to see where Carr is in the background. There he is, Carr is just emerging. You can see that how slowly Byrne's having to go around the corners just to get the car back to the pit, and he was going to be pitting in around about 5 laps time, so maybe he'll just add a little bit extra fuel really to compensate for that, but he's going to get overtaken by Carr here.
Yeah, so it seems.
There's a Carr now coming up to the back of Byrne, and there you go. Carr takes the lead of the race once again.
Yeah, but obviously he'll be jumped by his teammate Lopez, who already had passed him on track. But for Evan Byrne, he's got to fight hard and recover, because he shouldn't... technically, he shouldn't switch... let me rephrase. Technically, he shouldn't change to another type of strategy. He'll still be on the 2-stop. Though slightly out of order, I have to say. More matching up with Lopez's strategy rather than Carr's.
And meanwhile has now come into the pit, so let's see how much fuel they put in the Red Bull, as through will go Quarg meanwhile, and through he goes. Luckily he didn't get held up by Byrne there, as Lopez
Byrne can still win this race, of course, if something were to happen to the Mercedes.
Indeed, but let's see how quickly this stop is going to be. It's obviously going to be long because of the front wing change. 26 laps of fuel, so that should take him. Bear in mind, they'll still have a bit of fuel left in the tank. It'll take him to possibly around about lap 44, 46 of the race, I would think, is when he'll make his next pit stop. But
well, he's remaining on the 2-stop, so that's good.
Yep, but he'll now need to make his way up through the field as Lopez gets ahead as a result of that, and he's now ahead. As
he's being impeded by Galdo, who is trying to overtake a backmarker, Aston Martin there. Gal's going for the move as the Aston making way. What is Lopez going to do? He's going to go around the outside and say, thank you very much for not holding me up so much.
Yep, indeed, and well, he would have ideally liked to have cleared them a bit quicker than
Byrne
that.
emerged in P6, meanwhile, in front of Willows, so he's got to chase after Chatfield and Quag.
I think he needs to chase after Lopez first, if I'm being honest, because he's the one in
him as well, of course.
Yeah, indeed, as meanwhile Carr just puts a lap there on Rahul Patel, the man who was the culprit of that incident with Evan Byrne there, and I'm pretty sure Evan is not going to be very happy with him after the race, that is for sure.
Definitely not. If he loses this race, it'll be all because of Patel.
Indeed so, as meanwhile, Quark, just looking at the gap between him and Carr now, it's 3.5 seconds, the gap.
Here goes
As
Cupac, meanwhile, trying to unlap himself.
Yep, on the Chatfield that was, so he's obviously on
Oh,
fresh
understeer
tyres
for
now.
Martin's there, he's losing the car, and he goes off the track.
Yep, and a mistake there for the Brazilian in his first race, down in last position. So Martin's really struggling with that struggling Aston Martin.
Look at this, I'm surprised. The gap between Lopez and Byrne is only 7.8 seconds, so it's still very much doable for Byrne as Wilson gets overtaken by Federi. But here goes Franco Lopez trying to overtake Miklos Gal.
Yep, indeed, as look at the straight line speed the Honda has, but Lopez later on the brakes, and he finally gets 4th place off of Miklos Gal. Now it would be Evan Byrne's turn to catch up, and it's already 6.4, the gap between Gal and Byrne meanwhile, so Byrne is not too far away.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, Patel makes way for Quag. He gets lapped by him.
Yep, as he would have been held up a little bit there as Quark tries to chase down the two-stopping car. I would imagine it's a two-stop he's doing anyway. He hasn't pitted yet, has Armar Car, so obviously something to bear in mind. As meanwhile, De Rosa on the inside of Jesus Perinin, who is clearly struggling in this race. De Rosa on the inside, and he's up into 11th place. That BMW engine is definitely very powerful on the straights.
Absolutely right, Joe. As meanwhile, Chatfield is under pressure from a Williams who wants to unlap himself.
Indeed so. It was similar with the AlphaTauri, who has actually unlapped himself at the expense of Chris Chatfield. So obviously these guys are on fresher tyres compared to Chatfield, and they want to make
Meanwhile,
way
Quag is catching up to Armar Car, who hasn't even stopped yet.
Yeah, indeed. As in fact, he now will be pitting this time by. So Armar Car will finally be coming into the pits at the end of lap 24.
But it looks like Quag is doing the work of the gods here. This is an incredible first 2 stints for him.
Indeed so, as Carr now then making his way towards turn number 3 now then, as the gap is 2.3 seconds between himself and Quag. So Quag won't be able to overtake Carr as a result before the Mercedes driver comes into the pit, but I will be very curious to see where Carr does emerge in comparison to Evan Byrne, who of course had to pit quite early for that front wing change.
He should still be in front of Byrne, so I expect him to emerge in P5, Armor Car here.
Will he though? Because you got to remember, Byrne has been insanely catching up on the drivers with fresher tyres. We do think.
Well, that is true.
And also, when we've seen with the back markers as well, it seems that the degradation here seems to be quite high with these soft tyres.
Yeah, indeed. Some guys are trying to run them far too long.
Down to 1.9 seconds now between Carr and Quag. With that 1.8, as you can see on the bottom of your screen there. But as mentioned,
Quag is gaining rapidly.
But he won't be getting Carr before he makes his pit stop. So as we now approach...
To Byrne is 24 seconds. I think Byrne will actually get the jump on him.
Yeah, indeed, that was what I was thinking there. As now Carr comes into the pit, so Quag will now take the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. And the question will be is whether or not he can make his free-stop strategy work.
Yeah, indeed.
As now the Mercedes comes into the pits now then, as he now pulls into his box now then. And let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for Armar Car in the Mercedes now then, and there's 23 laps of fuel being put in the tank, so I would imagine he'll pit roughly around the same time when Evan Byrne around the same time that Evan Byrne hits as well. It's now let's see where Carr is going to emerge. Is he going to emerge behind Evan Byrne now then, as he trundles down pit lane, and Gal goes through. Byrne shouldn't be too far behind. He's now coming through. There goes Byrne. Byrne is ahead of Armar Car, and Carr is going to emerge in 6th position.
That was a mighty undercut from Evan Byrne. He's thankfully still in front of Armar Car, but Car now is going to have slightly fresher tires and he's going to push, but hang on a second, there's an Aston Martin unlapping himself, costing him time as Lopez has overtaken Chatfield unseen by the cameras.
Willows is now not far behind Carr, but I would imagine that Carr's going to pull away from Willows, given he's on much fresher tyres than what Willows is. But here is the new race leader, Quag, who's got a 14.9 second lead over Franco Lopez, who will be trying to gain onto that time as much as possible during this stint before Quag makes his second stop.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, we're on board with Rahul Patel, currently struggling. Same case for David Cupac, to be honest.
Yeah, indeed, as now Patel... now coming up towards the final 4 turns on the racetrack now then, as now we look at Quag. It's now down to 14.6 seconds now, the gap between Quag and Lopez in this race so far. As meanwhile, we've got a battle of a fourth brewing here between Gal and Byrne now. Then this is AlphaTauri versus Red Bull. You would think the AlphaTauri wouldn't fight the Red Bull too hard, but this is Miklos Gal we are talking about. He is a world champion in this series.
Yeah, he's not gonna let that place go so easily.
Yep, and let's see if Byrne is going to be able to get him in towards the first corners and make their way through the final turn. They've also got Armar Car closing down as well, just behind, as they now make their way towards the first corner. Chatfield now into the pits, as through they will go. So this is now for the podium now, as Byrne on the inside, and back onto the podium places goes the Irishman.
Easy does it, and he needed to make that move because look at Armar Car, he's much faster than Gal at least. If he's faster than Byrne or not, I'm not quite sure.
Indeed so, and obviously Willows will be hoping that that Carr can dispose of Gal pretty quickly, because before the pit stops, Gal and Willows were fighting for position. So, and I don't think, has Gal pitted yet? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think he has he, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't recall seeing his name going to the pits. I might be wrong on that. Somebody can correct. But anyway, look at how much pace that Carr has got on the fresher tyres compared to Miklos Gal. The more he gets held up, though, the more that Joseph Willows in the McLaren behind is going to close up. There he is in the BMW McLaren. And now through into turn 10 we go. Is Carr going to try and get a run in towards the chicane? He's going to look to the outside, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough there. And, well, he's going to stay in front of Carr for the time being. But can Carr get a run towards the fourth to last corner? Let's see.
He's gonna have a shot into turn 12. He's going very aggressively onto Gal. Careful there. And thankfully they don't touch, but Gal retains the position. This is helping Willows get closer. Meanwhile, Jamie Griffiths is into the pits.
And now, look at Willows going for a dive bomb on Carr.
What a move.
He's like, I don't care if you're fighting for the lead car, I want Gal, and that's P5 for Willows. Obviously, I would have thought that Willows may have got a bit of PTSD with that, given what happened to him at that corner in 2009, but clearly showing how Alex Southgate should have done it back in 2009, and up into 5th place he goes.
What a brilliant move that was. Came absolutely out of nowhere, and Joseph Willows has overtaken Armar Car. Sure, Car will have the pace advantage, but he needs to take that track position, and I think his chances of winning this race have dropped somewhat for Armar Car.
Now Willows will try and attack Gal for P4 now. Then as they now make their way towards turn 3, Carr will look on at any opportunity with the fresher tyres. Willows, is he going to find a gap on the inside? He's just on the inside.
He's going for it, you know.
He get the move done and just about avoids contact.
What a
and Willows
brilliant
up into
move.
4th, and Carr takes full advantage of Carr now up into 5th place, and now he'll want to try and get Willows back.
Yeah, Willows on a mad one. In just 3 corners, he's gained. In 5 corners, he's gained 2 places. Very aggressive, and little bit of contact there, but he got the move done cleanly. And at the end of the day, he'll be delighted with that.
And now Carr will want to try and attack Willows if he can now. Then as they make their way towards turn number 6 now, then Willows already thinking about going defensive going into that corner, but can Carr maybe try and line up for a pass in towards turns 9 and 10 now. Then as they make their way through the long swooping right-hander, Perinen now into the pits as he can finally get rid of those old tyres he's been on for a while after the issues he had. But Dairy also into the pits for Aston Martin. Carr wasn't close enough to get Willows on that occasion, so he's going to stick behind the McLaren for the time being.
He's going to go for the outside here, but there's no way he can pass into this chicane.
Now will Carr try and make a lunge up towards the down towards the fourth to last corner. Let's see, as Willows already defending the inside once again now. Then, oh, I thought there was going to be contact there, but luckily Carr was just able to stop the car in time. Tries to have a look into the third to last corner, doesn't work out there, and luckily Gal is not too close behind to try and pounce on Carr like Willows did to Carr earlier on. But now Carr should surely get the move done into turn 1.
Yeah, indeed. He's got a great chance. Meanwhile, Byrne laps Patel, this time cleanly, thankfully. Patel didn't make it too difficult for Byrne this time around. And now Armar Car gets past Joseph Willows up in 4th place.
He's back up to 4th, and now he'll try to close back the time that he lost on Evan Byrne in front as he now makes his way towards turn number 3 on the racetrack now. Then just curious to see what the gap is like between Lopez and Quag. It's down to 8.4 seconds now, so
Lopez
obviously
is getting fast.
Lopez is actually quicker, but it's just a question of whether he can get Quag before Quag makes his pit stop, and it looks like Quag's having trouble with the traffic because
he's not going to get him. Quag is pitting only in 2 or 3 laps.
Dairy is trying to unlap himself, who has actually just come into the pit, as meanwhile Chung's coming into the pit for Lamborghini, as Patel has still got 14 laps on this stint now. Then Lamborghini have really screwed him over in this race.
Yeah, definitely. If you're on the soft tires, you never want to go for the one stop. As Amelia Wilson comes into the pits, same for Laura Chunk, who is just exiting the pits as a matter of fact.
Griffiths tries to get by on Patel if he can, but he can't get it done as it looks like, I think that's Lopez. No, it's
Blue
not, it's
flags for
Carr.
Lopez.
He's trying to get by on Q-Part there and has a little bit of difficulty doing that as Gal is
He
actually
gets him
coming
in the end, though.
Ollie's actually coming into the pits at the end of this lap. I just saw the red indicator on Q-Pop's name as Wilson rejoins in 14th, just in front of Barcher's Kloss there, and also Lopez is trying to lap the pair of them, so this is not going to help Lopez. It will help
Kloss is overtaking Wilson, or at least trying to, but he makes way for Lopez, and now she's going to make way as well. Or no, she's not going to make way.
Pot trying to find a way through on Kloss there, but it's not going to work out. Meanwhile, Miklos Gal is into the pits for Alpha Tauri, and he comes into the pits from 6th position as Lopez still having difficulty trying to lap Wilson. Of course, Wilson is going to be on fresher tyres, so I wonder if she's actually going to start to pull away from Lopez as a result, as Quark's coming into the pits this lap.
I don't think she has the pace to pull away from that Mercedes, to be frank.
Even with the fresher tyres, interesting, as Lopez now does pull a lap on Wilson. There's contact there between Kloss and Q. Can these two just stay away from each other today, please?
Probably not.
I think this could be a new rivalry for this season if we're not careful, as Q-Pop once again stuck behind Barcher's Kloss's Haas, as now they make their way through into the chicane.
DeRosa in the pits also.
DeRosa into the pits for McLaren, as now will Q-Pop get the move done on DeRosa going in towards the...
Oh, he's understeering here.
It's a lock-up, actually, and as a result, he's lost time. And I think Quark is now into the pits as we speak for Renault, as Willows just laps Patel there, who's still struggling. But I think Quark is now into the pits for Renault. The race leader is now into the pits. So Roman Quark now
I expect him to come out close to car, to be honest.
Let's see how quick the stop will be then from the Renault mechanics. 14 laps, so yep, confirming this is a free-stop strategy for the Frenchman, but it's just about whether or not he can make this work. 5.9 seconds is the pit stop for the Renault mechanics.
Where's Car?
There is Carr, though. Byrne has already gone past. I would imagine Carr is going to go through as well, because he wasn't too far behind Byrne, and yes, he does. Is Willow's going to get through as well on Quark? Let's see, as Quark comes out of the pit lane, and it looks like Quark is going to be okay. He's going to stay in front there of Joseph Willows, but he did get a little bit held up there by Griffiths, and will Willows take full advantage of this here as they go side by side briefly, but Quark does go through, and Quark should be able to pull away as a result.
Yeah, indeed. You should have better pace for the time being. Meanwhile, Kevin Correa-Pino is very excited for the Mercedes, it seems.
Yep, indeed, as Byrne goes through on Q-Pop there, as Byrne will try and go after Franco Lopez if he can. Lopez now takes the lead of the race after Quark's second stop of the race, but it's going to be a question of how fast can Quark charge through the field before he's going to be in sync now with everybody. It's just how many cars can he pass before they all make their second stops.
Yeah, well said.
As Quark puts a lap there on the Williams as he tries to give chase and close down on former teammate Omar Carr. He knows he's got a very good chance to take his first win since the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix, and his first win with Renault, of course, in his first race for Renault, in fact. He's got a very good chance here if he can make this free stop strategy work.
Might be easier said than done, though.
Indeed so, as Yuri's just pointed out to us, Quark set a purple middle sector, so we could be looking at the fastest lap here for Roman Quark here. He could take the fastest lap point here as a result. Let's see, as he crosses the line now, then Quark is just in front meanwhile, and let's see, and he actually lost a bit of time in the last sector.
That was his outlap, Joe.
Okay, fair enough, but either way, Yuri said a purple middle sector, so we'll keep an eye on that in the next lap or so. The gap
4.9 to Car, he's already gained over half second.
Yep, indeed. So obviously something to keep an eye on there. Then as
Patel is overtaken by Martins in the meantime.
Yep, indeed. As now Quark goes flat out through into turn 5. Let's see what the gap is like at the end of this sector. It was 4.9, 3.9, a second taken out of Car on that occasion. Quark is absolutely flying, and a purple first sector compared to Car as well.
That is absolutely brilliant. My gosh.
Indeed so, and he's coming around turns 9 and 10 now then on the racetrack as he's going to make his way through this fast swooping left-hander now. Then let's see what his middle sector looks like. And purple again in the middle sector, 1/10 up on Car in that sector. The gap down to 3.6 seconds now between the pair as they now make the way towards the final few turns on the racetrack now. Then through into the fourth to last corner. And let's keep an eye on this then. Is this going to be a fastest lap for Roman Quark? Let's see.
Should be the case. We can just hook it up nicely in the last sector here. But everyone in the top 4 in this race has one more stop to make. So if Quag wants to win this race, he's going to need to push quite a lot.
And that's the fastest lap for Roman Quagga, 1:23.4 exactly. So he now has the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race, as the gap is now 2.4 seconds between himself and Armor Car. I think Car was just in front of that traffic we just saw there, so Quag is not
He's
too
gained
far
2.5
behind.
seconds in a single lap there, Joe.
He has indeed, and he is absolutely flying. He has got the bit between his teeth, as meanwhile Chung is trying to attack Galloway for 9th position. Chung is having a fantastic race, making amends after the disappointing qualifying she had yesterday, where she only qualified 16th.
Definitely, and now is she going to try move into the penultimate corner of turn 14? No, she's not, but she's still keeping close to the back of Galloway. Though having said that, she's had a pretty bad exit, but for the last corner, her run is decent, and should be able to try to overtake him here.
See though, it depends on the straight line speed of this Lamborghini compared to the Ferrari. It's just about level with the Ferrari down the inside, and Chung gets up
She's
to
got
9th.
him. Good move.
It's a perfect move there for Laura Chung. Of course, last season she actually made an incredible overtake at turn 3. So
Patel
obviously,
understeering a little bit, but he's getting some blue flags.
yeah, because he's about to get lapped by, I think that's George Roke. He's about to get lapped very soon. As meanwhile, Quag is not too far behind Car. Meanwhile, as he now puts a lap on Kloss there, and he soon should be putting a lap on the Alpha Tauri here, that being of David Kupok, who's been really struggling in this race. And Quag, I think, will probably lap him as soon as he comes out of this final corner, which he does.
That should be the case.
And now he can set his sights on Armar Car, as Patel really struggling on this stint, and he's still got about 9 or so laps before he can finally make his pit stop and ditch these tyres.
Yeah, indeed. Rahul Patel's day is just not going to plan, I'm afraid.
Definitely not. And as obviously he crosses the line to do another lap, and Roke's still not close enough to put a lap on him. The gap between Lopez and Byrne, meanwhile, is 6.3 seconds. So something to keep an eye on there. And
Byrne has been closing it slightly over the last few laps.
Roke, meanwhile, is coming into the pits this lap, as you can see on Byrne's death panel. So George Roke will be pitting at the end of this lap, as we keep an eye on Quag, who obviously lost time for that traffic, but now he's starting to gain the time back. 2.7 seconds now, the gap between him and Carr.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be very interesting to see how that gap develops, as Rogue 5.5 behind Chatfield, and he might try to get some sort of undercut on his compatriot.
Roke will actually pull a lap on Patel here going into the chicane, which he does, and for Roke, it's just been a race to forget for him, really.
Yeah, Byrne has gained another 10th, meanwhile the gap is 6.2 between himself and Lopez.
Yep, so he's definitely running quicker. I wonder if he can get to him before they make their second round of pit stops, which will be...
I don't think so, but he can still challenge for the win.
Yeah, that is for sure. Don't rule him out. As you can see, just in the background, Carr and Quag are not far behind him either. So, yeah, that's obviously something to keep an eye on.
Guy's gaining. He's 4.9 behind Byrne now.
More importantly, Quag is also gaining as well in the Renault. So that's obviously...
Lopez is the slowest in the top 4 at the moment, honestly.
Because he's obviously, I think, on older tyres compared to the four of them as well. Because, of course, Byrne...
Not much older, though.
Yes, indeed. And
but if Lopez were to pit right now, he would be in front of Chris Chatfield, so that would be good, as George Roke makes his way to the pits.
The Red Bull now finally into the pits. The gap between Carr and Quag now is now 1.7 seconds, as Willows is putting pressure on Chatfield for 5th position. Willows really wanting to give BMW a very good return to the top class here, as he's looking for some very high points here today.
Certainly one of the contenders for driver of the day, though this race is far from over.
Roke rejoins in 8th position, just in front of Laura Chung, so Roke doesn't have to worry about the Lamborghini, as he just comes out.
Might have to worry just a little bit for one more corner, because she's overtaken him.
Yep, so never mind that. It looked like Chung had some insane traction, and Roke will have to deal with the Lamborghini of Chung, as Chatfield puts a lap on Sontag there, as will Joseph Willows. Willows will try and charge after Chatfield just in front, as they make their way through into the chicane now. Then how far back is Quag on Carmine? Well, last time we checked, it was 1.7 seconds between the pair, and
now it's just 1 second, and that's going to be even less as they cross the line. Roman Quag is getting his first opportunity, though it will be a little bit difficult to pass the straight line speed of the Renault being inferior to the Mercedes, so let's see.
Indeed, as they make their way out of turn 2. Quag not close enough to get Carr on this occasion. He's
going to get a 4-lap undercut on him, so yeah, if he wants to secure the podium, he needs to get past him on track and then make the most of that 4-lap undercut.
Indeed so, as they make their way through into the section of corners flat out through the right-hander now, then we'll go Roman Quagg in the Renault as he tries everything to pass Armar Car as quickly as possible through turn 6, round turn 7. Will he possibly try and go for a run in towards turn 9? I don't think he's close enough, so I think he's going to have to hang back for the time being, although he does get some slipstream on him, but Car defends the inside just in case.
This was where Quag made his mistake in qualifying yesterday in Q3. Now he's keeping it all clean, and he's very, very eager to get past Armarca. Is he going to go around the outside on the lakeside drive? Not going to happen. He goes through the wall there for a few seconds, which is strange.
A typical thing with this track on GP4, really, but at least it didn't affect Quag.
He's going to go for the move. No, he's not.
Not quite though, because
Rock has overtaken Chung in the meantime.
Now we go towards the final few turns on the racetrack. Is Quag going to go for a run into turn 1 on Armar Car here? Through into the final 2 turns we go on the racetrack. It all depends really if Car can get some traction out of the final turn, which is something Quag was struggling, but clearly not. Look at the amount of traction that Quag has got with those fresher tyres.
Should be an easy pass now.
On the inside goes the Frenchman, and I think this is the move done. And
it is.
Yes, it is. Quag up into 3rd position.
Next target for him is Evan Byrne. He's got to hurry. He's only going to have 5 laps until he pits.
Meanwhile, Byrne is now 5.6 seconds behind Lopez. He's continuing to gain the time. Oh, bit of contact there. Will these two just stay away from each other?
Suspects, eh?
Will these two just stay away from each other, please? I mean, for goodness sake, man.
This is becoming the meme of the day, I guess. A little bit of a nudge there.
Yeah, indeed. And it's
an unfriendly nudge.
Yeah, indeed. I think both of them are probably going to hate each other after this race, and it's allowed Griffiths to close up as a result. But yeah,
if they don't already hate each other, that is.
Oh God Almighty! But anyway, as meanwhile, I think Willows is.
Willows has dropped back in regard to Chatfield. That's interesting.
I don't know if Chatfield has actually responded to his pace or whether or not they had any traffic to deal with.
Looks like Wilson has unlapped herself from Lopez in the meantime.
It has been a while since we checked up on those two, so I wonder if traffic might have had a part of that, or whether Willows made a mistake, or whether Chatfield has actually responded to his pace. I'm not sure. But anyway, the gap 5 seconds between Lopez and Byrne. The gap roughly 3.1 seconds between Byrne and Quag for the meantime. So
it's closing that gap rapidly, and he will get a substantial undercut. I think 5 to 8 laps or so.
Indeed, as they now make their way through into the final few turns on the racetrack now then, as Willows, in fact Chatfield's coming up to this traffic, so maybe Willows can start to gain again in a little bit. As
Chatfield goes for the move just like Willows did, and he makes a double overtake. It may be on back markers, sure, but it's still very impressive. So having said that, he's still battling with the Hasselbartosz class. Now he's going around the outside.
I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit worried we were going to have a 2009 moment there.
Same case for me. Now Griffith is going for the move on Bartosz Kloss. Can he get him into a first corner? He just about can.
16th place for Jamie Griffiths, who's actually having a decent race despite the fact that the Williams has looked a little bit off this season, it's fair to say. As
Kloss is coming back at him though. He's going to come in the pits this lap, and he's got blue flags for Willows.
Indeed, as we look at Lopez, who's actually behind that Alfa Romeo you were discussing earlier, that being of Emilio Wilson. And I wonder if Galloway is going to unlap himself in a bit as Chatfield laps the Alpha Tauri there of David Kupok. And
Willows seems to be slower than Chatfield for the time being. He's dropping pace a little bit. Meanwhile, Quag is just 1.3 seconds behind Byrne. He's caught up to him really fast.
Yeah, indeed, and let's not forget, Byrne left Renault because of frustrations with that team, and well, Quag is actually catching up to him. Imagine if he wins in that Renault. I wonder what Evan Byrne will probably think of that.
So, yeah, well said.
Now Quag comes around the final turn now then. He's not close enough to get hold of Byrne on this occasion, but I would imagine on the next lap he's definitely going to have a go. Meanwhile, 4.7 seconds, the gap between Lopez and Byrne for the meantime.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be a very entertaining end to this race for sure. As now Willows is trying to lap these guys.
Yep, and he's going to have to stay behind. Kloss is actually coming into the pit, so he'll peel to the right. So that's one less bit of traffic that Willows will have to deal with. So it's only Griffiths that will have to deal with in front before he gets up to the back of David Kupok. But yeah, that battle is getting close. And look at this now. Quag is right on the gearbox of Evan Byrne now. We have got an insane fight for second place brewing here.
Yeah, absolutely right. And how long will he take to make that move?
We'll see as they make their way through the long swooping right-hander now. Then is Quark going to get the move? He's going to have a go down into the chicane, or close there, very close indeed. But luckily, no contact was made there as they make their way through into the chicane as well. It looks like the Alfa Romeo there might have made a mistake there. That was Amelia Wilson, because she's come off very slowly out the corner.
She's just getting the blue flags. Did she have a collision with Galloway?
Looks like, yeah, Galloway was trying to lap her there, and well.
No, it was a legitimate pass, not a lap.
Oh, okay, so maybe Wilson was being a tad bit aggressive there, because she did move under braking quite late there, so I wouldn't put blame on Galloway on that occasion. But yeah, Wilson nearly interfering in this battle though, and well, I don't think Quark and Byrne are going to be particularly happy with that. And again, Quark is struggling to lap Wilson here. Wilson is not letting him go here, and Quark is not going to be happy with this.
Here comes
and look
car.
at this, it's allowed car to gain as well.
Oh, Quark is going to have to do all that hard work of catching Byrne again.
And, well, he might have to deal with Carr in a little bit if he's not careful.
Well, Jake Galloway started this mess with him, and that collision with Wilson slowed her down. And as a result of this, Roman Quark's charge of Devin Byrne is going to have to wait a little.
Yeah, indeed. And who knows if he's going to have enough time to gain back up. Cause
This has helped Lopez put the gap back up to Byrne. It's now 6.1 seconds.
Patel is finally making his pit stop this lap, so he can finally get rid of those old tyres. And what happened with Wilson, Lopez has been able to gain 6.1 now. Is the gap between him and Evan Byrne, 2.9 the gap between Quark and Byrne because of all that that happened. And yeah, as mentioned, Quark is going to have to do all that hard work again.
Yeah, absolutely right, Joe. As Patel finally comes in.
Indeed,
what a bizarre strategy.
Meanwhile, Lopez is actually now pulling away from Evan Byrne because he's now up to 6.3 seconds. It was 6.1, now it's up to 6.3 again, and well...
Quark's just gained 6 tenths in one sector alone.
Yes, as let's see if Byrne can gain back on this sector compared to Lopez. 6.2, only a little bit really he gained on that occasion, so he is still relatively
good. Lapping the Williams.
But as mentioned, he and Quark are not going to be happy with Wilson on that occasion. Whether or not it was due to that contact with Galloway, Wilson should have just really stayed clear of that as Patel rejoins in 20th.
Yep, as let's take a look at the end of this lap how much Quark has gained onto Evan Byrne. The gap seems to be closing a little bit as Byrne has gained the time from Lopez there. Car trying to keep pace as well.
Indeed, as now they make their way as a lock up there for
Looks like Galloway will want to unlap himself from Lopez.
Indeed, as meanwhile Gal is not far behind Willow, so it looks like those two are going to fight for 6th position again. Their battle is resumed from earlier on in the race, as we now look at we're now looking at Lopez again, as Quark's coming in at the end of this lap, so Wilson really interfered with that one.
Yeah, definitely. Gap is 1.9. He's not going to get Byrne on track, but he will get him with the undercut.
Willows, meanwhile, is into the pits, meanwhile, so Gal will get up into 6th. So Willow's now into the pits for his final stop of the race now then, but...
I'm thinking Quark will be in the lead once everyone makes their stops, but he'll be the one being chased by the others. And I still think Lopez is the favorite for this win.
I'm not sure about that, because I would imagine Lopez is pitting in a couple of laps, and... So, I don't think he will.
With fresh tires, he should get a 7-second undercut.
Not in 2 laps, I don't think he will. I think that's going to be a bit of an ask. So,
I think Lopez is pitting in a little bit. No, just 2 laps. Oh, I see. Right.
Yes.
My bad. Then.
So anyway, as Quark now comes into the pits for Renault to make his 3rd and final stop of the afternoon, and he is going to be absolutely furious. But yeah, Quark now into the pits for Renault.
Yeah, he's had a brilliant race so far. Let's see if he can bring it home for the podium.
Yep. As now he makes his way into the box now, then does Roman Quark in the Renault now, then as he puts on a fresh set of tyres and fuel, and as expected, of course, going to the end of the race. Let's see how quick the stop will be from the Renault mechanics. A 6.3 second stop for them. And let's see where Quark is going to emerge after this pit stop. Carr has gone through. Of course, he still needs to make one more stop, as he's going to, I think he will rejoin comfortably ahead of Chris Chatfield, and he will do so. He rejoins in 4th position. So now it's just a case of how much he can gain in the meantime with those fresher tyres for about a couple of laps.
Yeah, indeed. Meanwhile, I was looking for the chat. It looks like we've got the Brazilian Franco Lopez fan.
Yep, as Chatfield, in fact, is going to try and overtake Quag into turn 3 there, but Quag
Quag
saying no
needed to
to
hold
that.
that position. Now he's free to push.
Indeed, as Byrne now, they're making his way through the long, swooping left-hander we go now then, as he makes his way towards the left-right chicane now then, 6.4 the gap. I do think Lopez is pulling away again from Byrne, as Willows, who's trying to lap some traffic after his pit stop, having a little bit of difficulty there with both Kloss and Martins at the moment.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his teammate, Kirishima DeRosa, who's right behind Perinen, both of them are actually going to be coming into the pit lap as Lopez pits. Lopez is into the pit, so it's only a lap. So Franco Lopez will pit for the final time in this race.
Yeah, indeed. He should remain in front of Quag, and after that, it's just a matter of pushing to the flag to keep Byrne behind and take the win.
Indeed, as he will now put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel now then on his car. And where is he going to emerge on track now then? Will Franco Lopez? How quick's the stop going to be? It is a 6.7 second stop. So let's see where he's going to emerge now then. Could Quag actually get ahead of him? Let's see.
No.
It's going to be a bit...
Looking at the mini-map, Quag is about to enter the final corner.
Yep, so as a result of that, Lopez emerges still in front, and I would imagine he will still be in the lead once Byrne makes his pit stop.
Yeah, indeed, that Byrne will have fresher tires and will be able to give chase. Could be interesting.
Yeah, indeed, and Quag is definitely not going to be happy about that one. He could have been in contention for the win, but that issue with the traffic there, you could well and truly argue, is definitely cost him today.
I think it definitely cost him some seconds as Kloss is off the track.
That's a suspension failure. That's another suspension failure for the Haas.
Both Haas is out.
Both Haas is out, both with front left suspension failure. Bartosz Kloss, who was having a miserable day anyway, particularly with David Kupok, is now out of the race as Perinen and DeRosa are both into the pits. And yep, it's the front left suspension that is once again the culprit for the Haas.
Not how he wanted his first race on his return to end.
Yeah, that's that, and it's going to happen just at the second to last corner, and that's race over for Bartosz Kloss. And after all the hype surrounding Haas, after all the pace they showed in pre-season testing, they've not really been able to demonstrate it thoroughly here in Australia.
I'm afraid not. Just wasn't a good day for them.
As DeRosa and Perinen are now both into the pits. They're fighting, I think, for the final points place, if I'm not mistaken. So a pit stop battle between McLaren and Renault. Renault should get in front because of the garage advantage, which he does. Perinen, once again, still emerging in front of Kirishima DeRosa. A couple of more mechanics in, an Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin mechanics, as the Alfa Tauri mechanics are getting rid of, I think, for Kupok, because Gal, or it could be for Gal, in fact, because Gal is yet to pit. But anyway... as mentioned, Perinen rejoins in 11th, DeRosa rejoins in 12th after that pit stop for Derry and Wilson, both into the pits now.
How much time did Wilson cost Quag? Because I think it was less than 5 seconds.
Who knows, really? Who knows? And let's see, it's 5.1 the gap it was last time by.
Yeah, that's why I was addressing this.
Yeah, as let's see the gap this time by, and it's gone up to 5.6. So, yep, I think Quag's chances of victory are well and truly over as Gal is into the pits for Alfa Tauri.
Still, Quag still has decent shot at the podium, of course.
Indeed so, as we look now at Lopez's teammate, Armar Carr, who's still yet to make a pit stop. And I think he'll probably pit in around about 2 laps, I would say. 1 or 2 laps time, we should expect Carr to come into the pits. And so, yeah, that's obviously something to keep an eye on there. And I think, from what I remember, he's on a similar fuel load to Byrne. So I would imagine that both of them are going to pit at the same time.
Yeah, probably.
As now around the long sweeping left-hander, Lopez with a purple first sector, so he might actually get the fastest lap off of Quag here. We'll have to keep an eye on that one as Kupok is trying to unlap himself at the expense of Gal, who's just come out of the pits, but Gal saying no to that one, and well, that's very embarrassing to see that your teammate is a lap in front of you.
Absolutely right, Joe. It's just not been a good day for David Kupok, I'm afraid.
Indeed so, as 9.3 now the gap is between the two Mercedes teammates. Purple middle sector for Lopez. This should be a fastest lap, providing he hasn't made any mistakes since we last checked up on him. But let's see now then. Lopez across the line, and it is the fastest lap of the race, a 1:23.099. So Lopez now has the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race at the moment.
Yeah, but I think Kai and Byrne will try to take it away from him once they make their stops.
Is actually going to be this lap because, as you can see, Lopez has got the red pit indicator and Byrne is also coming in. So I was right. Byrne and Carr are going to be pitting at the same time as each other. And in fact, Byrne's actually pulling away a bit from Carr.
I wonder though if Quag can get the jump on Byrne. Byrne will have fresh tires and the ability to chase, but yeah, if Quag has track position, this will guarantee Lopez the race win.
Well, Perinin is trying to make it a double points finish for Renault in this race. He's all over the back of Jake Galloway's Ferrari now. Then tried to have a go, it didn't quite work out. He's probably also got to keep an eye on De Rosa, who could take advantage if these two keep scrapping for long enough.
Yeah, indeed, should be an entertaining fight at the lower edges of the points.
Let's see if Perinin can get the move done on Jake Galloway then, heading into the first corner. Around the final turn and onto the pit straight. Can Perinin get the move done as he's now on the inside?
He's going for it.
Should be the move done for Jesus Perinin as he's now on the inside. This should be the move done. And yes, it is. Perinin back into the points, as I think pretty soon we'll be seeing Byrne and Carr come into the pits. In fact,
Byrne's in.
Both into the pits now. Byrne is in, and soon Carr will also be into the pits pretty soon as well. And there is Carr. So Byrne is not going to get held up by the Mercedes. Lopez goes through into the lead, and I would imagine that Byrne is going to emerge behind Quag here. Let's see.
But I think he will have the pace to chase after the Frenchman and catch him. Quag will be in front, yes, but not by much. And can Byrne catch him past him? That's a big question. And can Armour Car do the same thing? I wonder.
Meanwhile, Chris Chatfield is coming to the pits for Ferrari. Byrne emerges in third. Carr comfortably comes out in fourth. And now both of them, the chase is on.
Yes, absolutely right, Joe. And speaking of which, I think Chatfield has to be careful to not be jumped by Willows. That could be a close fight.
Indeed so. And, of course, it'll be interesting to see how that one works out. I think Roke will have... Was Roke on a one stop? I can't remember exactly.
Yes.
Because he's now up... Well, he is now up in 5th place, is George Roke. So you could say in a way the one stop has well.
Willows will push to try to catch him, though. So I'm not sure if he can stay until the end of the race.
Chatfield rejoins in 8th. He's come out behind both Gal and Willow. So
Willows is 2/10 faster than Roke for the time being.
As mentioned, Chatfield has emerged behind both Gal and Willow, so he'll have to do some chasing as Laura Chung in the Lamborghini has come into
Griffiths
the
has
pit.
just exited the pits meanwhile.
Meanwhile, what's the gap between Byrne and Quag? It's 6.5 seconds, the gap. So that's obviously a gap to keep an eye on as we progress in this race. 7.5 seconds, the gap between Lopez and Quag, meanwhile. So Lopez continuing to pull away as we speak.
Chung gets out just in front of Martins there in the meantime. And Federi is going to end the race, no problem. But he's going to have to make way for the race leader.
Rosa, meanwhile, has got up to 10th. He's passed Galloway, and now De Rosa is now into the points. So far, a double points finish could be on the cards for McLaren, and you could say De Rosa could be a contender for driver of the day. And I haven't really given out details because it has changed the driver of the day for this season because, of course, as recently pointed out, of course, the straw poll that I use has actually closed down. So I was actually planning to change it anyway beforehand because I'm actually going to do what people suggested I would do with the driver of the day last season, which is actually base it on who gets the highest rating in the ratings discussion. So
I think it's gonna go to Quag as things stand. That's my personal opinion, as someone who isn't involved in the ratings.
Whoever ends up with the highest rating is going to end up with the driver of the day. So anyone who's part of the sign-up discussions, not sign-up discussions, the ratings discussion, please don't fight over it. So anyway, as meanwhile, this is Laura Chung is now coming up to the back of Galloway, and this should be an easy move for her.
It is. Galloway had no traction there on the exit.
Galloway really struggling on this stint, and I think he's probably not going to...
5.2 between Quag and Byrne. Byrne is definitely gaining fast.
I don't think Galloway is going to score points in this race, if I'm being totally honest.
Afraid not.
Indeed, as now Quag comes out of the final turn. Let's see, 5.1 is the gap between him and Byrne. Let's see if that's changed as they've crossed the line. So Quag is now across the line. Byrne is just in the background across the line, and it's down to 4.5 seconds. As Byrne has actually set the fastest lap. He's broken into the 1 minute 22s, or 1:22.951, I think that says. So Byrne now holds on to that bonus point for the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, indeed, and he was robbed of a win because of Patel, and maybe P2, the fastest lap, should be good consolation, because with this pace he's got, he's definitely gonna take that P2.
Perhaps indeed, as they now make their way through into the chicane now. Then
The gap to
4.1
Lopez is
seconds.
12.7 seconds, and we've got 12 laps to go. If he's a second faster than Lopez, he could catch him, but he has to pass Quag first, so I don't think Byrne can win the race.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. And also, there maybe have to be a bit of traffic that they'll have to deal with as well, as Martins tries to unlap himself at the expense of Jake Galloway, as they now make their way through into the final few turns on the racetrack now then.
Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Lopez didn't win a race last season, did he?
Lopez didn't. No, it was a winless season for Lopez. So if it were to stay like this, it will be his first win since the 2020 Brazilian Grand Prix, when he won the 2020 title, of course, as Martins now unlaps himself at the expense of Jake Galloway, who is clearly struggling on this final stint. As meanwhile, the gap 4 seconds between Quag and Byrne. So Byrne didn't really gain too much
We're
on Quag on
expecting an
that
update.
occasion. Let's have a look now then across the line, and it is 3.4 seconds. So he gained 6 tenths out of him on that occasion.
He's gaining fast.
Indeed so, as they now make their way towards turn number 3 now then, and Byrne definitely gaining. It's roughly around about, if you do the maths there, that's around about 12.5 seconds, the gap between Byrne and Lopez. So I think it's going to be a bit of an ask for Byrne to catch up to Lopez, should he pass Quag, of course.
Yeah, indeed. I don't think Lopez is catchable.
Yeah, as 2.9 seconds now, the gap between Quag and Byrne. So he took, I think that was another 6 tenths out of him on that occasion, as I think it was 3.5. The last 3.4, sorry, so 5 tenths he actually took out of him on that occasion, as he continues to try and chase down the man who, of course, replaced him at Renault, of course, that being Romain Quag.
Yeah, indeed. Quag, we'll have to see how good his defense is, because he's gonna have to fight if he wants to hold on to second place. And Ka is also catching. I think Quag might not end up on the podium.
Yeah, that could be something as well to bear in mind, which would be such a shame for Quag, really. Had that bit of traffic with Amelia Wilson and, of course, in a way, Jake Galloway, who obviously started all that mess. Had that not happened, what might have been for Romain Quag in this race?
Wilson once again ruining someone's hopes for a second race in a row. If you remember, of course, in Brazil, what happened.
Because the Armagh Cars Championship hopes ended.
Luck up for Pernian.
Yep, and he's currently up in 9th place at the moment. He's trying to gain as much as he can before the end of the race. I wonder what the gap is like between him and Chatfield at the time being, as they make their way through into turns 9 and 10 on the racetrack now then. The gap is, well, he's way too far back, so I think
Willis is just 5 seconds behind Roke in the meantime, so watch this space. Could be an interesting fight towards the end.
1.2 seconds now, the gap between Quag and Byrne, as we ride on board with Romain Quag in the Renault, and I think Byrne is going to be right on the gearbox of him very, very soon.
Joe, I think one thing we need to do at the end of this lap is look at the pace difference between Quag and Ka.
Yeah, indeed, and obviously the one way that would help is if Byrne could get past on Quag, because that's obvious. At the moment, we're not getting much info there, but it's now under a second between Byrne and Quag. Byrne has got it down to 8 tenths of a second.
Yeah, indeed, and he should have the engine advantage, so it's only a matter of time for him to get the move. He has 10 laps in which to do so, well, 9 laps once these guys cross the line, but I wonder just how quickly he can get the move done, of course, because Amarka is also chasing, and if Byrne is stuck there, he might find himself overtaken by a Mercedes. He needs to get this move done as quick as he can.
And now on the inside of Quag, surely this is the move done for the Irishman. Danny
does it.
And that's P2 for Byrne. Up into second place goes Evan Byrne.
5.7 the gap between Quag and Ka in the meantime, so we will keep an eye on that, of course. Ka is pushing hard, and Roman Quag, how much slower is he again?
Not really sure, to be honest.
1.4 seconds.
He's really struggling at the moment. He's Roman Quag, and 11 seconds. So yeah, unless Byrne can perform some kind of miracle, I don't see how he's going to gain onto Franco Lopez by the end of the race. As meanwhile, Chung, look at this. He's trying to ruin any hopes that McLaren have on having a double points finish here, because Chung is all over the back.
Here.
So she's all over the back of De Rosa, but De Rosa defending the inside, going through into the 4th to last corner there, as she tried to put De Rosa under a bit of pressure as they make their way through into the final few turns on the racetrack now then. Into the final 2 corners we go. So through into the left-hander now then into the final corner we will go on the racetrack now then, through into the final corner and onto the pit straight now then we will go. Is Chung going to get the move done on Kirishima DeRosa? How much pace does that BMW have compared to the Lamborghini? Well, I don't think it's going to matter too much because this straight is not long enough. Later on the brakes goes Chung, and Chung is back into the points.
Well, executed move there, and DeRosa unfortunately loses out on the points. What's the gap between Byrne and Lopez? I don't think he can catch him, but just for curiosity's sake, 11.2. Yeah, Lopez is winning this race unless he gets bad luck.
Indeed, and I think Galloway now holding up Quag, so that could help Carr a little bit as Quag now puts a lap there on Galloway. Lets him by, yes he does indeed, and Carr, you can just see him there in the background. He is definitely trying to make it a double podium finish for Mercedes here today.
Yeah, indeed, he started on pole, but his pace has been the greatest today, and he's lost out to his teammate and to Evan Byrne. Let's hope he doesn't lose out to Roman Quag as well.
Indeed so, as they now make their way through into this section of corners.
Willows just 2.7 on to Roke. It was 5 seconds the last time we checked, so Willows is definitely gaining. Roke will be under pressure in the closing stages of this race.
10.9 seconds is the gap between Lopez and Byrne. So Byrne has got it to under 11 seconds now. 10.6 now is the gap. But yeah, with about 7 and a bit laps to go, it's going to be a bit of an ask for Byrne to get onto the clutches of Lopez by the end of the race.
Kyle, meanwhile, is just 1.7 behind Quag, so he's definitely gaining as Patel is having a very slow turn 1 there.
Still really struggling on this stint. This is definitely a race that Patel will want to forget about, that is for sure, and move on to China next week. So yeah, that's pretty much that really, as we now look at Quag, and there is Carr not too far behind as Byrne put a lap there on the Aston Martin. I think that was Andre Verderi, if I'm not mistaken. As now we look at Quag now then, and they make their way towards the first corner. The gap 0.8 seconds, so Carr is now under a second behind the Frenchman here.
It was a very brave freestyle strategy. It was the only way he could fight with the front runners, but I'm afraid the front runners are catching up to him, and now our Marcotte should have an easy time getting Roman Quag in the remaining laps.
Yeah, indeed, but it's just a question of where he's going to get him, though, is going to be the question. Coming out of turn 5, he's right on the gearbox.
Look at all the grip he has over him.
Quag having to defend the inside, going through into turn 6, 7, and 8 now then, as around the long swooping right-hander we will go now then. And now Carr on the inside. Can he get it? No, contact there been made! And Carr is around! Carr is around! He's bottled his chances of getting third place. Quag is going to cut across the grass. I think they're a long way.
Has he bottled his chances though? Because he's still going to be close on the rejoin. Don't collide, please. They don't, but the fight resumes.
That Roke was too far behind from that lot anyway to gain full advantage, but Carr clearly getting a bit impatient there.
This is definitely the incident of the race, and now the fight is back on. You said earlier Carr has bottled his chances, but as luck would have it, he is still very, very close to Quag.
They now make their way towards the right-hander now, then we go. Can Carr get the move done on Roman Quag into turn 1? Quag
not here.
To defend. Going into the penultimate corner, now into the final corner. We will go now then. Meanwhile, Gal's all over the back of Willow, so he could get 6th place very soon now then. But Carr on the inside, and surely this is the move done for Armar Carr in the Mercedes as he's on the inside of the Renault driver, as he's down the inside. This is surely the move done for Armar Carr in the Mercedes.
This time he's got him. Nothing Quag could do there.
Up into 3rd position, and well, that's the podium chance has gone for Quag, as now we look at this battle for 6th position. It's an insane fight between 3 cars here. Willows having to fend off from Gal and Chatfield here, and Gal will want to try and get him down into turn 1 if he can.
And all 3 of these lot chasing after George Roke, let's not forget. Look, there's Roke there in front. They're pushing like hell.
And they're desperate to try and get 5th place by the end of the race. Willow's already defending the inside. Gal was not close enough to go for a move on the McLaren BMW there. Through into turn 2 we go. Can Gal get the move done on Willow's this time by? He's right in the slipstream. He's going to go to the inside. Is this the move done?
But Gal.
Sure, he's not defending the place down the inside, and that's P6 for Miklos Gal.
Brilliant stuff. Next target for him is the big sister team, the Red Bull of George Roke.
As now Chatfield will now attack Willows for 7th place if he can in the Ferrari. Willows already defending the inside up towards turn 6, 7 and 8 now, then through the right, then through into the left, and then through into the right-hander.
5 to go for the race leader.
Now they go through into turns 9 and 10 now then. So through into the right and then into the left-hander now then. We will go.
Gal is 3.8 behind Rogue, so let's watch that gap.
As they go around the long swooping left-hander, as they now go through into the left-right chicane, as they've got a big lead over Perinin, so they shouldn't have to worry too much there. Is Chatfield going to get a run on Willows? Let's see.
In towards turn 12, had a little look, but fought better of it in the end.
Yeah, indeed, as they now make their way through into the right-hander now, then we go, and now in towards the final two corners, we will go on the racetrack. So through into the left-hander we go. And now
Burn is gaining rapidly onto Lopez, but it's not going to be enough to catch him before the end. As here goes Chris Chatfield.
Yeah, he's now in the slipstream of Willows. He's going to go down the inside. This should be the move done for the Brit in the Ferrari down the inside. And that's P7 for Chatfield. There's a lock up there for Willows going into turn 1.
Well, Willows gave it his best shot today, but unfortunately didn't have the pace to contend with that Ferrari.
Indeed, as they now make
this is why Burn was gaining so much onto Lopez. Lopez was in traffic. The gap is 6.9. It's not going to be enough for Burn, though.
Gap between Chung and Perinin, meanwhile, is 3.8 seconds. So I don't know if she's going to have enough time to gain onto Perinin, but we will wait and see.
3.3 now, she's definitely got a chance.
It was 3.8 earlier on, so she's gained 5/10 in that sector. 4 laps to go for race leader Franco Lopez.
Indeed, I want to see the gap between Roca and Gal in the meantime.
As we now look, and it's still a bit far away, 3.7 seconds. So Gal's really got to dig deep if he wants that P5 by the end of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Does he have the tire life for it? As now Martins gets lapped by Federi.
Another case of an example of teammate lapping a teammate there, and just like with AlphaTauri.
Well, Martins has an excuse. It is his first race after all.
Yeah, but it's not really much of an excuse when you get lapped by your own teammate in your first race, though, is it?
Yeah, well said.
But anyway, as Galloway looks like he's not going to score any points in this race, and a disappointing opening race for him, that's for sure, as he seems to be struggling now with these tyres. He gets another lock up through into turn 3 there.
What if Wilson catches him?
Well, it's 12.6 seconds. I highly doubt it, but you never know, of course. He might make a mistake that sends him off the track, and it will allow Wilson to get a hold of him. But anyway, we're right on board with Armar Khan now, then, and it looks like he'll be content for 3rd position.
Yeah, he had an argy-bargy with Quag there, but looks like P3 will be the best he can do today.
Yeah, indeed, as now make their way through into the chicane now then, as meanwhile, De Rosa just going to pull a lap on Patel, who is desperate to forget about this race, that is for sure.
Absolutely right. And there's nothing positive to draw from this race for Holt Patel, I'm afraid. As now Lopez has a 5-second lead with 3 laps to go. Burn is catching, but not enough.
Now they come up towards turn number 3 now, then they go. There is Burn. He is not far behind Lopez, but I would think if there was another 5 laps, he probably would have got him.
Yeah, indeed. But if Patel didn't ruin his race, Burn would have won this comfortably.
Yeah, indeed. But unfortunately, that's racing, I'm afraid. But it's very clear that Burn is definitely enjoying life back at Red Bull, and it's very clear that I think he will be a strong contender for the championship this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Lopez is having a dream start. He didn't qualify that well yesterday, but today he's more than made up for it. He's had an entire season without a single win, but he's going to pick up where he left off in 2020, and he's going to be victorious.
Providing that nothing happens to him, of course, in these remaining 2 laps. Let's not jump the gun just yet. We've still got 2 and a bit laps to go in this Grand Prix. Anything could still happen. As meanwhile, the car, in fact, has dropped back quite a lot, of course, because of that collision. It has now put him 16 seconds back from Evan Byrne as a result. So who knows, really? If he'd just been a little bit more patient, he probably could have been on the back of Byrne by the end of the race. But I guess we'll never know. We'll never know, of course. As Lopez is on the penultimate lap of the race, as he did put a lap there on Jamie Griffiths going through into the first couple of corners, as Byrne...
Oh, Byrne's lost a lot of time there with the McLaren.
That McLaren being Kirishima De Rosa, he was trying to lap there, and, well, it looks like he's not going to be particularly happy with the Italian there. As,
no, definitely not.
Just looking at the gap between Roke and Gal, meanwhile, just looking at the bottom of the screen there on the timing screen to the bottom, it's up to 5 seconds. So I think Roke has got 5th in the bag, really, to be honest. But meanwhile, Chung is on the back of Perinen. We've got a fight for 9th place going on. She's got the move done. Chung is up into 9th place, so she's now on 2 championship points. And in fact, was it because of contact? It was. There was contact between.
Oh no! It's a dangerous rejoin. He's hit Lopez, but Lopez doesn't take any damage. What a scare!
That was very, very lucky indeed, and had Perinin had taken out Lopez there, then that would have probably have been a penalty. But yeah, I think this is another case of a bump and run here.
Yeah, it is a bump and run, a successful one, mind you. But Lopez almost had his Patel moment there.
Yeah, indeed, and if that had ended in disaster there, imagine the scenes.
Yeah, he left him no space at all. Lucky he didn't chop off his front wing on the penultimate lap.
How on earth that Lopez didn't get any damage from that, I will never know. It will allow Byrne to gain a little bit, but of course it won't be enough for Byrne to challenge for the victory, I don't think. So,
well, those Mercedes front wings are made out of vibranium, didn't you know? They can never break.
Maybe even the suspension as well.
Yeah.
Now, Carr is coming around the long left-hander there, as Lopez will soon be starting the final lap of the race here at Melbourne, as he just puts a lap there on Griffiths, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gives him the if Lopez sticks his middle finger up to Perinin after that one, because that nearly ended in disaster. But anyway, Lopez is about to start the final lap of the race here at the Australian Grand Prix, and it's just been the perfect start for Franco Lopez. He's obviously come off the back of a disappointing 2021 season where he had so much bad luck and a winless season for the first time since 2017. And, well, he desperately wanted to forget that season, and he's going to do that in the best possible way. And if it can keep like this at the moment, as long as there's no more mistakes from Lopez, he is looking good to take his first win since the 2020 Brazilian Grand Prix. And, well, a fully deserved one, you'd have to say.
Yeah, he's more than made up for the disastrous 2021 season. He's gonna come back fighting like a true winner, and he got a little bit lucky today, but he also had a late scare which might have ruined his chances. Thankfully not. I don't know what that Mercedes front wing is made out of, honestly, but thankfully he's made it through in one piece, and he's just one sector away from his first victory after a long, painful and winless season.
Indeed so, but anyway, Lopez coming around the final 4 corners then for the 58th and final time. It's just been the perfect start for him indeed. He obviously won here back in 2018, and he's now going to get another victory here in Melbourne and to kick off the season perfectly. His aim was to get the championship back this season, and it's going to start off in the perfect way for the first time since 2020. Franco Lopez wins the Australian Grand Prix. An amazing drive for the Argentine. Franco Lopez is back on the top step of the podium.
Byrne second. How much he'll rue that win that Patel cost him. Marmarka is going to take third. Best the pole sitter could do. And possibly the driver of the day will be Roman Quagg, crossing the line to take P4 after an incredible drive where he really gave the frontrunners a run for their money, didn't he?
Indeed so. Roman Quagg, what might have been without that hold-up for Amelia Wilson. He's going to cross the line in 4th, but he's showing very strong signs at that Renault team, that is for sure. Galloway...
Disaster for Jake Galloway, I'm afraid. Rodroke is going to finish 5th. The best he could have done with that woeful strategy he's got, honestly.
Yeah, indeed, and not exactly ideal for him. Wilson will cross the line 14 for Miklos Gal. What a return to form for him. It's going to be P6 in the improved Alpha Tauri.
Only just Chatfield fails to get him.
A perfect drive for him. Chatfield 10th. Willows finishes in 8th. A good start for their first race with BMW power and BMW's return to the top class. Their first race back, it's safe to say, you could say it's a successful one. Q-Pock, well, with all the trouble with Kloss and a disappointing race
He's had a terrible race, I'm afraid. He's only going to be 15th.
As Laura Chung in the background there is going to finish in 9th. A great recovery after she only qualified in 16th. A great race for Laura Chung. Felix Sontag will cross the line in 16th position. And that's the race done. With
End of the race. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody.
Franco Lopez is the first winner of 2022 and fully deserved indeed. So here is the final results then. Franco Lopez is your race winner with Evan Byrne in 2nd. Amar Carr is in 3rd with Roman Quagg in 4th. Then it is George Rogue in 5th. Miklos Gal, a fantastic 6th for him. With Chris Chatfield in 7th. Joseph Willows in 8th. A good return for BMW. With Laura Chung in 9th. Jesus Perrin, a disappointing race for him. He completes the top 10. With Kirishima De Rosa in 11th. And you can do the rest, Rob.
Oh yeah, sure. Andre Federi P12, Jake Galloway 13th, Amelia Wilson 14th, there's David Kupok in 15th, Felix Zontak 16th, Jamie Griffith 17th, Rahul Patel 18th, Jonatas Martins 19th, and the three retirements are Bertosz Klose with suspension failure, Ben Zwallinger with a puncture, Michael Motter with suspension failure.
Yep, and the fastest lap of the race, let's see who got the bonus point. It was
Byrne.
Evan Byrne. So along with the 18 points he'll get for second place, he'll also get the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. So 19 points going the way to Evan Byrne. 122.921, 1/10 quicker than Amar Khan in the end there then. Well, that was that. But before we leave you, of course, we will now hear, to celebrate the victory of Franco Lopez, we will now hear, for the first time since 2020, the national anthems of Argentina and of Germany.
Yes.
So there you have it then. That has been the Australian Grand Prix here in Melbourne. And for a first race for 2022, Rob, I think that was very exciting and hopefully more to come for the next 20 races.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it had a little bit of chaos thrown in as well. My goodness me, it would have been even more dramatic if we had a change of winner as a result of that contact with Pernian. But thankfully, Lopez got a little bit of luck, was able to bring the car home and take a brilliant victory that's been long overdue, you have to say.
Indeed so. Well, there you have it then. That has been it from the Australian Grand Prix here in Melbourne. I hope you have enjoyed it. A thoroughly enjoyable race indeed. And hopefully more exciting races to come in the next 20 races in 2022. The next top class race, of course, will be on next week, which will take place at the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai, Laura Chung's home Grand Prix. And given how well she did today, she'll be looking to do a good job in front of her adoring home fans. And hopefully we're in for an exciting race in China next week. But until then, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. Of course, next Monday we have the World Champ Car race over at the GP layout of Indianapolis, the first race of the season for World Champ Car, so do look forward to that. But until then, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it, so thank you all for watching. I've been JW97, he's been Rob. The short highlights will come either tomorrow or Friday. Of course, we're doing short highlights now for the top class. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I've been JW97, he's been Robert Ionescu, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys.